Welcome to another broadcast of the Deborah Ruffini Show on the ArtistFirst Radio Network. All past shows are archived. You can find them at ArtistFirst.com. And now, from England, here she is, your host, Deborah Ruffini.
Greetings from England. This is Deborah Ruffini with the Deborah Ruffini Show. Today it is my great pleasure to introduce author Destiny Maria Johnson, whom I'm looking forward to speaking with for this month's show. Destiny, good to have you with us. How are you doing?
Great to be here. I'm doing well.
Oh, good, good. What's the weather like your neck of the woods?
It's actually raining. Happens to be raining in LA, which is not usual. Very unusual to have it rain pretty often. It's been raining about the past week.
Oh my goodness!
So,
well,
yeah.
You've had your fair share of rain.
Yeah,
That's not
paid
good.
our bill. Yeah, it's been raining for about the past week, almost off and on. And LA does not receive rain like that, so we're used to drier weather, sunnier weather. So I've actually had to wear a jacket.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's good. Oh, I hope it warms up soon and gets drier soon.
Yeah.
Oh, it's great to have you here. Do you know, this is the first time I've had an author of fiction on the show, so I'm very excited about this.
Okay.
This is brilliant.
Okay.
It's yeah, and for the audience in particular, I wanted Destiny as a guest because her latest publication consists of subject matter very close to my heart. And yeah, would you like to give us a summary of your book, Preaching on the Down Low, Destiny?
Yeah. So, Preaching on the Down Low is a book I wrote. I actually got the idea to write it. I was talking to my mother once, and my mother and I both attended Pentecostal churches when we were younger.
Okay.
So I grew up in the Pentecostal Church of God in Christ. So it's a black organization, very traditional, and they pretty much follow the Bible like literally. So I was talking to my mom, and then she told me that, yeah, you know, this, I don't know how we got on the topic. She told me, yeah, this person that, you know, they used to attend, you know, your great uncle's church, they passed away due to HIV/AIDS, and they gave it to their wife,
Oh,
who also
dear.
passed away. And I was like, really? And then she also said that it was a rumor, but that another couple that was a head of a church also passed away due to HIV/AIDS spreading. And she said that it was weird because at the funeral they actually covered the body in this like cloak or tarp so no one could touch them.
Right.
Because at that time in the 90s, people believed that it was contagious. You know, HIV and AIDS was a contagion, and that you could just catch it by touching someone. So I thought that was really interesting, and I decided to write a book about that, a fiction book that talks about that outlines what it's like to be a down low preacher or a man who is secretly gay in the church, and how that kind of destroys his life holding the secret. Yeah.
Wow, that's very it's a very brave issue to cover in Christian writing. I think you've taken a big step there, because it's something I think people even now like to put head in sand, and it's not something we like to talk about, maybe like to think about. It's what sort of feedback have you got? Have you got positive feedback from the subject matter you've dealt with?
Oh yeah, I've definitely got positive reviews, positive feedback.
Great.
I've written, I mainly write urban Christian fiction,
Right.
and I write interracial love stories.
Wow.
So those are like the two that I stick to the most.
Yeah.
And I've gotten pretty good reviews. People really liked it. People thought that it was very true to life. They
Yes.
thought that it totally made sense, and that they've seen this before, they've heard about that. So everyone kind of had everyone was able to kind of like personally relate to it.
Wow. And that's good. That's quite powerful. That's encouraging to get good feedback rather than, oh, you can't do that, or, you know, It's kind of
Yeah.
it's very sad, isn't it? I mean, I knew of a real life case where I obviously am unable to give full details. But the minister was leading an absolute double life, cheating his wife, cheating his church. But because he was such a well-respected and influential character, he was believed. And it was very difficult for me, being one of very few people who knew the truth. And, I kind of felt like Noah waiting for the flood. I still am. But the leaders, they don't consider the harm they cause others, which takes a kind of domino effect, destroying the wife, the church, their family, all for the sake of selfishness, I guess. But it's better to do the decent thing, isn't it, and give up the position in the ministry rather than try and have their cake and eat it.
Yes, instead of holding a secret. And I think if it hadn't been for extreme homophobia in the African American church, maybe this person would be able to live openly as a gay man, as a gay preacher. But because of, hardcore homophobia, he feels like he has to live this life secretly. So he has this, his name is Kenneth, and he has a boyfriend named Timorius.
Right.
And he keeps him on the side, and he doesn't want other people to know about him. But he's sooner or later people are going to find out. But he doesn't care. He wants to keep his image, because pastors are supposed to be straight.
Yeah.
They're supposed to have a woman, or women admire them. And he even has the nerve to write this romance book, or like how to stay married, or how, even though he's not even being married or being true to his wife, he wants to do anything to hide. So I think it's really important that we kind of recognize those who are living a secret life because they want to hide behind something. They don't want the discrimination,
That's it,
which
isn't it?
I said it kind of links to race too, because many people they've hid their true identity so they can go out into the general population, the regular world, without having to be thought of as less than. I have a grandfather. My grandfather is half Irish, half black. He passed away, but he was half white, half black. And he had brothers that decided to not identify as mixed. They wanted to identify as white. So they passed. So they were pretty much white on the down low. So,
wow. Oh.
Yeah. So they passed, and people did not think that they were black or mixed. So, but that down low behavior, that was so they could get what they wanted, so they could be part of the larger society, get the jobs and the fame or whatever that they wanted, that they wouldn't be able to get being known as black or mixed, which is the same with gay men.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. Yeah. It's.
Yeah.
I guess as much as we shouldn't judge God by those of his supposed followers who let him down, I think it's essential that we are kind of how can I say it? We've got to recognise that the orientation is real. And I think sometimes Christians don't sort of. I guess it's one thing to be in the ministry and deceive the people, but it's having feelings for those in ministry and leadership, that they actually do have sincere feelings, and they're not just being naughty and doing their own thing. But these, sexual orientation does exist, whether we're gay or straight, and that's something that can be, if we're just of heterosexual mind, we can just be so dismissive of that. It must be very, very difficult to be in that position. But at the same time, if we are choosing to live lives displeasing to the Lord, we can't. It's important for us not to go harping on about how holy we are.
Yes, yes, it is, and it's to really, this book is to show kind of almost empathy for men who choose to live this like secret life. This man, he ruined his entire life. Not to give everything away, but he really hurt his wife's feelings, and he really hurt her physically. And she wasn't able to really. At first, she didn't know, but that's what happens. What I've seen in the church, a lot of women they don't know that this is going on with their husbands, or some of them know and they try to hide it. But it's all about just trying to have this image.
Yeah.
And I think it's just very important that we kind of recognize that some people have it. Well, I think I've said this before. It's easier for women to say they're lesbians. Maybe not in church, but in larger society it is. But for men, and especially African American men, it's very, very difficult to come out as gay if you hadn't already grown up and like that, and everyone knew you as that. You just can't come out, And especially if you have a church, no one's going to go anymore, And,
yes.
No one's going to support you.
It's very sad, isn't it? It's almost like it's kind of I don't know about your neck of the woods, Destiny, but certainly here in England, it's very much kind of treated as king sin. It's very strange.
It's the number one abomination. There's almost no abomination. Nothing is worse than two gay men being together, or So, but it makes people feel isolated. It makes people lie. It makes people live double lives.
Yeah.
So they can blend in with the larger society. They're denying a part of themselves. Whether people believe that it's right or wrong.
Yeah.
They are still living with this anger inside, this fear inside, that if someone discovers me, I'll lose everything.
Oh my goodness, it must be so difficult, mustn't it? And especially, you got that on top of not being understood, and also it's tragic that there have been a number of suicides because of this whole thing and that again hasn't been understood. It's just been, if being gay was a choice, that you just miraculously turn straight. You wouldn't take your life over something like that.
You wouldn't. No, you would try to get rid of it. But just like how you found me. We were on the Facebook group.
Yes.
And the people on there did not want to hear of a book that was like mine. I guess they thought it was non-Christian, inappropriate. So, but it's not, because Christianity is more than this sweet story about two Christian lovers who come together and then end up marrying. Christianity is more complex than that for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Their walk with God is very complex. What they came from. Many people who are Christians now have been homeless before, have been drug users before, or are still struggling. Are homosexual, have been raped, or have raped someone.
Yes.
People who have had serious issues come to the church in order to get help, and you have people that say, "Oh no, you're a terrible person." So, we don't want to hear those stories. We want to keep those stories out, which is not good, and it just makes Christian literature very narrow. It just keeps it like Christian literature is only supposed to be one way, and I think that it should be more complex. We should have more movies on Christian literature other than this little happy story,
Yeah, that's what. Sorry, I'm laughing because, that's what I mean. There was some quite unkind comments, weren't there, about the book? And it was almost like they just looked at the cover, they read the synopsis, and they thought, oh my goodness, we can't have this subject matter. How can this person be a Christian? I thought, my goodness, judging you almost because of the contents.
They didn't think that I couldn't possibly have this. Can't possibly be a Christian book. And I thought that amongst fiction books, urban literature or African American urban stories that take place in the city or in poor areas, they tend to get a lot of flack amongst fiction in the fiction world.
Oh, right.
Based on how the covers are created. They're kind of created in their own unique way.
Yeah.
And how the people look on the cover, they may look a little bit more seductive, and but that tends to sell more often in urban literature. But many people won't give it a chance because, in my opinion, I think they see black people on the cover, then they assume it's going to be it's going to be about bad people.
Really?
That's just
how it is. Oh, that's horrible.
Yeah, it is. It's horrible, but I can see why people would look at the cover, because I'm looking at the cover now and saying, okay, it's a black man with an earring on, has a cross earring on, he looks like he's up to no good, so, but, it's no story, it's a story worth telling, just like it's worth telling the story of the preacher's daughter who falls in love with the preacher's son,
Yeah.
They end up getting married and having 10 kids.
Yeah.
Well, we've heard the story, over and over, and that story isn't always realistic. Everyone's lives doesn't match up like that.
That's it.
No one's like that. No one's life is that perfect.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it? And I think the cover's actually quite striking. I think it's very artistic. I think it's one of these covers that makes you want to buy the book. You think, oh, what's this about? But if it was someone in a floral dress on a swing and it was, about her... And I think sometimes Christian sort of literature can be a little bit twee, and it's all about this happy ever after story, and they were each other's first love, and you think, oh, but that's just a bit boring, really. And it doesn't. We're complex human beings, and it does
with real stories.
With real stories, real things going on.
Yeah,
things do happen
that need to be told.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I think it's great what you've done. Do you think that this... We hear more and more stories like this where you've got ministers leading lives that the congregation are going to be quite horrified about if they realise the reality of their lives. Do you think it's recognised as much as it goes on?
In the media, I have heard some high-profile cases in the last 5 or 6 years of bishops and pastors being caught. But I don't think that. I think it happens more often than people in powerful positions. Something that we need to talk about. It's very, very near and dear to my heart to talk about it because, especially because I include HIV/AIDS in my book, because that's passed from a gay man to a woman. But unfortunately, statistics show that African American women like myself are the second most likely group of people to contract HIV.
Wow.
We're right behind gay men.
Really?
And it's scary. It's so scary. They have ads in magazines, and I've seen billboards for PrEP that are specifically targeted toward black women in order for us to take PrEP before we engage in sexual intercourse. So to decrease our chances of getting HIV/AIDS, because unfortunately it's a very, very big deal. A lot of African American women contract HIV/AIDS, and they always contract it from men. Maybe not 100% of the time, but majority of the time, because of how a man can give it to a woman. You contract HIV/AIDS, and it's sad, and it needs to be Not to say that not all gay men, of course, have HIV/AIDS. Not all of them are going around and hiding. But I think when you live in secret and homophobia is a problem, that causes men to secretly sneak around with each other, not get tested, and sleep with women, and there you go. You ruin people's lives.
Oh, it's horrible, isn't it? Yeah, it's it's very sad. It never ceases to amaze me how sometimes you get a case like this, and it's almost like when the outsider sins, they're deemed as rebellious and dreadful people by these ministers, but when they screw up themselves, it's always Satan's fault. Do you ever feel that?
Yeah. My grandmother was very famous for saying, "Oh, that old devil, that's nothing but the devil." And I was like, "Grandma, no, you dropped the pot. It wasn't the devil, but."
Oh, bless.
Everything bad is blamed on Satan, and yes, Satan is a spirit, and he does involve himself in earth, in earth's affairs. But this is not. It's not. You just can't say, "Oh, it's just the devil working through these people." Well, maybe you need to, if you believe that, you need to introduce them to God, and to a good spirit. Many times, those people, they just want to condemn. You shouldn't just want to condemn people. That's not how you bring people to Christ. Is condemnation. That's not how you bring people to Christ and how you encourage them to be Christians. But for a lot of, from what I can say, Black Christianity, it's a lot of that. You're wrong and I'm right.
Oh, okay.
You're going to hell, I'm going to heaven. And it's like, well, how do you know that?
And judging, some Christians feel they have the right to judge another person's walk with the Lord and the level of their salvation, and that in turn can turn people away from church and the faith. And then these people are deemed as backsliders.
Yes, they are. Yeah, they're deemed as that, but instead of just condemning people, and it should be more about help. I mean, it's very controversial about gay men. Some churches believe in conversion therapy. I don't believe you should force anyone to do anything. And others believe that it's okay. But whatever it is, you should still be people first. What does that person need? What are they looking for? What do they need help with? And helping them become saved. But I think we've just gotten to that point. We just want to just throw everyone under the bus and they're horrible Christian, and that's just like the women who saw me on the Facebook group who looked at my synopsis and they thought that how they came up with assumptions about me because of a book that I wrote.
Yeah, it was horrid, wasn't it? I was actually quite mortified by the judgment. You could just I would think that's me judging them now, but no, you could just tell by their tone, and they just weren't. They were just ready to leap almost, as if it was sort of. I don't know. It reminded me a bit of Westboro Baptist. We've got I don't know if he's popular in America. Louis Theroux. He's a British guy who does different documentaries, and I think he did one called America's Most Hated Family, and he visited the Phelps. He visited the joyous Shirley Phelps and stayed, I think, for a week or so at the house, and he was just saying something about, why don't you let your daughters date? And she was to fornicate, and she immediately, and it was, it was her mind that was the one that was dirty. He was just thinking about date, and it was a bit like that, wasn't it? That the mind of the women that attacked you was saying more than what you'd actually written, or it was saying more about them than what you'd actually produced. And I think it's very, very, very sad.
Yeah, just take the time to, not judge a book by its cover.
Yeah.
And take a look at the synopsis and then kind of look through it, and just have my book, or what I'm here today is to encourage people to have an open mind, whether that comes to books about a different race other than you, a different sexual identity, have an open mind, especially if it's a Christian book, and know that the Christian experience is complicated, it's complex, it's diverse.
Yeah.
And because, I the way I grew up, I grew up incredibly conservative, very traditional. There was no questioning anything.
Right.
Why do I have to wear stockings under my dress? They're very itchy. Well, just wear them. There's no questioning. So it was just all of these rules, and a lot of rules are good. I work at a school, so we need rules to survive, to get through the day.
Yeah.
But rules in Christianity that some of them just, they just stifle people. They keep them from, loving others. Any rule that keeps you from acceptance, that's not a good one.
It's not, is it? And yeah, we can have silly rules that don't make any sense, but you mustn't question. It's almost like you mustn't question who we're saying God is. And it's almost like, this is whole thing about, I don't know if you found this growing up in the church. We mustn't question God. We mustn't question, what's God going to think if we think? He's not going to like it if we think for ourselves. And we're always going to come up with different conclusions about things. We're not always going to come to the same. So growing up, did you feel that did you feel rebellious if you had different thoughts, if you weren't fed with what the preacher said, if you believed differently?
I wasn't totally rebellious. I didn't question anything until I got to be in my 20s, and I'm almost 29. I'll be 29 March 5th, and I'm just now kind of coming into myself and how I believe in Christianity and how I believe in God.
Yeah.
Because when I was much younger, I didn't question, especially because my pastor was my grandfather. So, he was very beloved. So, I'm not going to tell, Grandpa doesn't make sense, because I just want to be, I want to abide by the rules. I want it to be a good girl. And so I didn't question anything. So when my grandpa called gay men sissies and stuff, I just went with it.
Yes.
I learned later it was a derogatory term, but when he called them that, or people talked about gay men in the church and lesbians, and it got to the point I was kind of so brainwashed. And now I really wish I could take it back, but when I was 18, that's when in California we were supposed to vote on Proposition 8. So if you voted no on 8, that meant that you supported gay marriage.
Okay.
If you voted yes on 8, that means that you were anti-gay marriage. You were pro-traditional family. So my church was very, very pro-family. They told everybody, even during announcements, vote yes on 8. Vote yes on 8. 8 means that we keep the marriage traditional between one man and one woman.
Yeah.
And I was all for it. I was like, okay, that's what they told me to vote, so I'm not going to question anything. It must be right. My church tells me.
Yeah. So,
in 2008, I ended up voting against gay marriage, but for Barack Obama.
Okay.
So.
Yeah. We can be so influenced. Yeah, we can be.
But luckily the Supreme Court took it over, and now gay marriage is legal throughout the U.S. But at that time there was a strong conservative push in California, which is strange because California is the most liberal state in the union.
Okay.
But or one of them, maybe New York. Well, no, California is more liberal than New York. But it was just interesting that we had that conservative group, and a lot of people blamed Black people during that time.
Oh, right.
They blamed us because we are the most conservative group, one of the most conservative groups in the United States, and definitely the most conservative group in California, because a lot of us go to church, go to churches. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh dear, it's yes. So tell us about some of the other publications you've dealt with racism. Is that a previous publication?
Well, I have a 3-part series called "The Devil Wears a Choir Robe." So that's about infidelity in the church and women lusting after a powerful man. So that's kind of like power in the church and people, trying to be with each other and wanting power, wanting position, wanting status. And I wrote that one, and people really liked it.
Wow.
And I tried to really incorporate African American church culture into those 3 books. So some of our songs we sang, things we like, things we do. And then my other ones, let me see which other one I have. Oh, it's called Sinning for a Savage.
Okay.
So that one.
Great. I like the title.
That one is, that was about a first lady. And she wants to, she's in a marriage. Her marriage is going well. But she gets super bored because her husband is just so dry. And he's just, he doesn't give her that spice anymore. So she goes after a man in the church who just joins the church to get his life together. But he seems way more interesting. And he used to be involved in a gang. He used to be involved in drugs. And she's just enticed. So it's kind of showing how, there are some people in the church, they feel like if only they could see what it was like on the other side. Maybe life would be better for them. And she learns a very valuable lesson. But I kind of feel like that was a little bit of my experience. I grew up very sheltered, and so I wanted to know what the bad kids do. I wasn't a bad child. I was very studious, very sheltered. My mother didn't let me go to parties. Which is for good reason. But I always wanted to see what was it like to be, with the kids who got to go out late at night, and what was that about? So that book was more talking about how you should be very content with who you are, what you have, your Christian life, and not try to go into someone else's walk, because you may not know what you're stepping into.
Oh, great. Oh, that's good. I like that. Yeah. And it's natural, isn't it? If we're sort of like on the outside looking into a sweet shop, we see what looks quite glamorous and and anything we're not supposed to do, we want to do it. It's just part of who we are, isn't it? And but it's being safe with it at the same time. Yeah. Oh, that's brilliant. So you're a teacher? Is that right?
I am a teacher. I'm an 8th grade teacher.
Great. Are you enjoying that?
Yes.
How do you find that?
I am. I've been teaching now for 5 years. So
wonderful.
Aside from being an 8th grade teacher, I teach special education. So what we have here I'm a resource teacher. So I work in the classroom directly with the main teacher. So I still get paid as a teacher, but I'm responsible for accommodating the students that have learning disabilities that are mild. So the mild learning disabilities are usually ADHD, high functioning autism, and children with processing disorders. So I accommodate for them so they can learn they can learn their best in the general education setting. So they don't fall behind. So my job is to get my students ready for high school so they can build the skills and strategies they need so they can go on to high school.
Wow, that's wonderful. I applaud any teacher. That's very, and it's
it can be. Yeah, they definitely kind of work my patience.
Yeah.
A lot. But I do enjoy it. I really like working with children, and initially, because I graduated from UCLA, and I went in there wanting to be a lawyer. And I took the LSAT, and I think I got into one school. I probably wasn't that concerned about it. It was a smaller school, and at last minute I was like, I guess I'll go into teaching. I went into teaching because I used to teach Sunday school.
Oh, right. Wonderful.
Yeah. So I taught Sunday school. I was the stand-in, and then I started teaching it. And my mom was like, "Why don't you just go into teaching? You have a pretty good presence." And I was like, "Okay." So I got into it. My first year, I was like, "Oh no, I should not have done this." But as I got older and wiser, I'm like, oh, "Okay, I can do this now."
Yeah. Oh, that's wonderful. That's brilliant. So how do you fit in your writing with you started part-time writing? Yeah.
So I of course it can be difficult because I also take a class so I can clear my credentials. So a teacher has to clear their credential so they can be considered a highly qualified educator. So I'm doing that, and I'm planning a wedding, and I'm working, and I'm trying to write books.
Oh my goodness, that's multitasking.
Thankfully, I don't have any children, so that would be too much on my plate. But I tend to, set aside time to write after school.
Yep.
Sometimes during.
Hello, you've cut out there, Destiny. Are you still with us? Hello?
I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's absolutely fine. Are you still with us? Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. Yeah.
So, if I'm not working on if I'm not working on like one of the documents that for my kids, I'll like squeeze in some time, about 30 minutes, an hour. So I usually don't have a lot of time during the day, but I'll try, And
Sure.
other times, if I really, really want to get some ideas out, I'm like, okay, kids, you're gonna have to watch a movie or go on the computers. But they don't mind. They're older, and this is the second semester, so. But they, in the weekends, and my fiance, he's a writer.
Wow,
so
that's good.
I credit a lot of this to him because he definitely stays on me, and because he writes songs daily. So, and he's written some that have made it to the radio. He's had one number one hit so far.
Wow.
And he loves writing. He writes every day. So when I tell him that, I haven't written in a long time, and he always reminds me, he's like, have you written today? Have you written anything today? Have you outlined? What have you done? I'm like, oh gosh, I haven't done anything. So it makes me feel guilty. So I'll write. So he really stays on me to make sure that I'm writing daily. Because sometimes I'm like, I don't have an idea. I've like exhausted all my ideas.
Yeah.
He's like, let's sit there and come up with something.
Oh, that's nice. As long as he does it in a gentle way, that's good. Oh, so that's
Yes, he does.
That's lovely. So how long have you been with your man?
How long have I been?
With your man, with your chap.
Oh yes, we've 2.5 years.
Oh, lovely.
Since 2016 in August, July, like late July, early August, and we were getting married August 2nd, so that'll be like on our 3rd year anniversary.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Oh, how exciting!
Yeah, it'll be very nice. So that's why my other books I write interracial love stories, because we're an interracial couple. He's white and I'm black, and there are certain like nuances in those type of relationships that you don't see in intraracial relationships.
Right.
That I want to explore. So I'm kind of inspired by him in those stories that I've written, and those are I have a couple novellas. So those are like my stories that are about 20,000 words, maybe 30,000.
Right.
And those, I've kind of been inspired by him. I've written about a police officer, a fireman, and, just things, for, I mean, romance sells. It's the highest selling genre of books. So if you're going to sell books, you have to have romance somewhere.
Oh, that's interesting. I wouldn't have known that.
Yeah. They make romance is $1 billion industry.
Oh, okay. Oh,
yeah,
right.
It's huge. It's huge. I didn't realize how huge it was, but apparently a lot of women are romance novel fans.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a very girly thing, isn't it? Mills and Boon.
I'm sure a few men too, but they're just not going to say anything.
No. They wouldn't be out of the closet. They'd have to stay in the closet if they like romance, I think. That's one area they'd have to stay.
Yeah. But unfortunately, they don't have a lot of, homosexual relationship books. I've seen lesbian romance novels that sold well, but I guess men, they aren't willing to read about themselves. So, women's books, women who are, and actually books that are interracial are also a huge genre. So there's a group of people who love books that are about black women and white men.
Oh, okay.
And it's called the genre is called BWWM, and those books sell. People love to read about. I don't know what it is. It's just considered a unique thing to read about a black woman and a white man and how they interact.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, I guess anything that's we like anything that's different and that's kind of going, isn't quite don't want to say the norm, but a little bit different. And I think that's quite. Yeah, it's interesting that you say that novels about lesbians are very different to same-sex couples. But two men together is considered very different to two women. And I think
it is,
even just outside of the church.
Lesbians are considered safe. I watched. It was this kind of short reality show. It was called "What Would You Do?"
Oh, I love that.
I don't know if you remember this show or if it's even shown in England. But what it was is they have hidden cameras.
Yeah.
And so what they did is they put two gay men on a bench together kissing.
Yeah.
And then they put two lesbian women on a bench together kissing. And they wanted to see how the public would react to them both. And so when they put the lesbians together, men just looked and gawked and were like, woo, women just looked. And then when the two gay men were kissing, people called the police.
Oh, do you know, I think I've seen that. I've seen YouTube clips of What Would You Do? Oh, John Quinones, doesn't it? He comes in.
On YouTube.
Yeah.
So they wanted to kind of do a social experiment, how people react to men being, lovey-dovey in public as compared to men.
Yeah. It's very sad, isn't it? And also, I mean, it's not uncommon to see two women holding hands, especially if they're Japanese, two Japanese girls holding hands. It's almost like you wouldn't bat an eye. Or even two women to a degree. But if you saw two men holding hands, I think it would definitely turn heads. It is treated so very differently. And it's so sad. I like to think the world is moving on. I like to think that the Christian world is moving on. And well, I'm living in hope. Do you know, the last sermon I ever heard, it's the last church service I ever went to, was I heard a 45-minute sermon on the passage in Romans where Paul speaks about unnatural acts between, men exchange their, natural feelings. I need my Bible with me, I haven't got it here, as did the women also, and which is clearly a passage dealing with the result of pagan god worship. So there was this message, this sermon about taking something completely out of context, wasn't dealing with a loving same-sex relationship at all. And we had a few local sportsmen in the congregation, and there was one guy who was a boxer, and there was a big match coming up during the week. So as a congregation, we prayed that he would win, he would do well in this match. So in effect, we were praying that this guy was going to beat the living daylights out of another chap, and please God, let him do it very well. But we can't have two men loving each other. And that was, that kind of said it all, that the church is we cherry pick. Whether it's sin or not, we cherry pick with something's worse if we don't like it.
Yeah, yes. It's worse if we're repulsed by it,
Yes.
Like, it's just totally repulsive, so it's bad.
Yeah.
But for some reason, people just have more of an issue with men. It's seen as totally against the natural order with men. People can put up with women, or they feel like, oh, she just hasn't had the right man yet. That's all her problem is,
Yeah, it is, isn't it? Yeah, it's very, very sad.
Yeah.
And you see these sort of no pun intended, gay camp conversion therapy. It's called gay camps. The conversion therapy, where they send these guys off and they think, right, the best way to get you over this is to all take your shirts off and we'll have a man-to-man rough and tumble. Well, that's not really going to do them any favours.
No.
No.
There was a man, actually I felt bad for him. He was, the Church of God in Christ, the organization I used to belong to, has a national convention annually. And they invited a young man to come and receive prayer. They opened the altar for prayer. And we went up there and they asked him, what do you need? What are you asking for? And he said, it's a very viral video. Yeah, you've probably seen it. Or if not, you should probably see it. But he goes up there and he says that those aren't his exact words. He says, I don't want to be gay anymore. I don't want to be gay no more. And the man said that, okay. And so I guess they prayed for him. And so the video goes that his famous words are, I'm not gay no more. I don't like men.
Yeah.
And he just says that like in the microphone. He's obviously the most feminine gay man ever lived.
Sorry.
But he wanted to tell the crowd that his famous words are, I've been delivered.
Oh.
I am delivered.
Right.
That guy. Yeah. So that's the church I used to belong to. So
okay.
He comes from that. That's the very anti-gay. But they really are anti-feminine. That's what bothers them. They call them sissies. That they dress in more feminine clothes. They act more feminine. So this young man was just ridiculed online to death, and he still claims that he's straight, even though he is incredibly feminine.
Yeah.
And, he is such what do they call them? Queens?
Yeah.
He is such one, and he still claims that he's straight and he's been delivered. God has delivered him. He's just adamant, although nothing has changed about him except lying,
Yeah.
And it's sad, that he can't live his true life, be who he really is, because he's trying to measure up to someone's standards. And really, if he was masculine, no one would have said anything about him. Masculine gay men, they get to hide the church. No one cares,
Sure, yeah.
But the feminine ones, they get the flack.
And suppressing feelings is not deliverance, is it?
Yeah. Yeah, it's not.
It's not.
They're just suppressing their feelings, and they're feeling like this young man. It feels like he needs to pretend to be straight, in order to be in his church, because the pastor prayed over him.
Yeah.
So of course he's supposed to be straight. He was supposed to work. But it's sad because it's like Elliot Moody says that he's with a woman now. He's actually had intercourse with a woman, and it's like it's just so cringy because it's like you do not like women. Like, you just need to stop.
Yeah,
it's okay to be who you are. You know, like you don't have to pretend. And it's just pretending, and it's causing him to just lie and be someone he isn't. There was a Christian group on my college's campus. They were famous for wearing shirts that said X something. So they would say X atheist, X homosexual was the most popular shirt. So a lot of people were convinced that they had totally thrown this life away and that they were being their true selves. One of them in particular, I don't really believe it. I think that she definitely has some more of the masculine energy. Yeah. And it just doesn't seem real. I just don't like when you suppress people's emotions or feelings. No. Now, if that's what they want to do, and they are totally, because you can change your behaviors. Yes. As scientifically as possible, if you want to. You can change your behaviors by doing something over and over. I don't say it's good, but you can. Just like with my kids who have special needs, they can replace their negative behaviors. Sure. So if you believe homosexuality is a negative behavior, you can change it. It's not going to be natural. It's going to take a lot of work. Yeah. But I don't. To me, that's not the right message to send to young children who are trying to commit suicide and all types of things because they're transgender or they're gay or Yeah.
And also, you can't change. I mean, I don't see it any further than taste. I mean, I could pray till I'm blue in the face to like celery and not like chocolate, but I just don't think it would happen.
No, it's not.
Because it's part of you.
It's not as in vain as when I was little and I used to pray to God for to give me a puppy.
Oh, did you?
It just wasn't going to happen. My mom was not. Like, God, please give me a puppy.
Oh, maybe your future husband will allow you to have a puppy. Will he allow you to have a puppy?
I hope so. Oh. He's allergic, so I don't think so.
Oh, you could shave the puppy. You could have a short head. Don't have a poodle.
Yeah, I could. He probably needs to be waxed because I don't know. Might have to be one of the bald breeds if there's one.
Oh. Oh dear. Oh, Destiny, it's been wonderful chatting with you. I can't believe this hour has gone. It's been brilliant. You've been a great guest. And thank you so much for being on the show. Thank you for writing about such essential topics. It's so important to address these things.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I appreciate it. Love being on the show. This is wonderful.
Oh.
I'm glad I got to share my piece.
Yeah, it's good for you to have a voice with this because the people that would want to not shut you up, but shut up your subject matter. And no, we need to speak to that. We need to speak about this, and this is important. These are all important issues, and you truly are a blessing. Thank you so much, and I wish you every success with present publications and your future work. That's great, and we will have the links to your Amazon publications be featured on the ArtistFirst site, if that's okay.
Yes,
and that'll be wonderful. We can all look forward to reading Destiny's work. And to the audience, I trust you've enjoyed the show, and trust you've enjoyed our wonderful guest. Thanks for tuning in, and until next time, much love and God bless.